agenda is approval of minutes. Approval of the regular meeting minutes for the February 3rd regular session, February 3rd closed session for consult with attorney.
Move approval.
Motion by Councilmember Aldridge, second by Councilmember Townsend. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to administrative reports. Your departmental reports are in your agenda. Anyone have any comments?
Your Honor, I do have one. I just wanted to commend Chief Kendall and Assistant Chief Jenkins. There was a nice letter in there from one of the volunteer fire departments. I think there was a motor vehicle accident at some point, and they reached out and asked for assistance, and we were able to provide a drone and some other equipment that was very instrumental in helping the victims in that situation. So I wanted to commend you and say keep up the great work. And also in that report, I noticed how many water main breaks we've had. So I know our staff has been exhausted over the last 30 to 45 days, and want to say good job to all of them working. There were so many streets and intersections in there that make my head spin. So other than that, everything else looks good.
Thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda, ordinance 2512, amending the annual operating budget, and ordinance 2513, amending the AMI meter upgrade capital project fund.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Councilmember Dry,
Second.
second by Councilmember Whitley. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to new business, the 2526 street resurfacing project bid award is in your agenda.
Your Honor, in small print on this, I don't see it, but I might if I would open up the contract. Is there a line in there or a comment about date for completion and anything that might? I'm just trying to see if there's anything.
Ross, you want to address that question? The
I'm
question
trying to
was,
find it
is
now.
there a completion date and any provisions for liquidated damages if it's not completed?
Yeah, I don't see anything, but I might be, and I just didn't see
The
it.
contract was not included in the attachments, but
Okay.
yes, there are terms and clauses in the resurfacing contract for liquidated damages. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's 120 days once notice to proceed has been given to the contractor.
So they're supposed to be complete in 120 days?
Once the notice to proceed is given to the contractor, I think they're on the clock then.
And the liquidated damages are how much?
And I can't recall. It's either $500 or $1,000 a day,
A day.
maybe. I can confirm. I don't have the contract with me tonight.
That's fine. I just, I guess I'm thinking that today's February 17th, and this is for this fiscal year.
Yes.
And if they're not done, then we go into next year.
Right.
I want to stay within budget year if at all possible. I guess that's the reason I asked. So there's a possibility then that
It's going to be close.
Yeah.
We hope 120 days is plenty of time.
right,
Originally, it was 90 days. So
gotcha. Okay, thanks.
Council, what's your wishes?
Move to approve. Lowest
Motion by
bid.
Councilmember Hall to approve the lowest bid, which is NJR.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Whitley. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the second item, 9B, consider approval of engineering amendment number 2 for the Long Creek wastewater treatment facility rehabilitation. Jay, you want to come, or Todd, you want to speak?
That's for, thank you, Jay Scott.
And Adam.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of City Council. If I can briefly just set the stage for myself and Mr. Kiker here. This is regarding the Long Creek Wastewater Treatment Plant Comprehensive Rehabilitation Project. You should recall that we are currently under contract with LKC Engineering for the original scope of this project. You should also recall that in October of 2024, we made you aware of this additional funding that was awarded to the tune of $14.65 million, which is a loan at 0.1% interest. We are here tonight requesting your approval of Engineering Amendment 2, which is incorporating those additional scope items for the addition to that comprehensive rehabilitation project. Mr. Kiker is here tonight to give you a presentation to inform you of what those additional scope items are and what the plan is going forward. Mr. Kiker?
Thank you, Jay. Mayor, members of the council, thanks for the opportunity to be here tonight. Mayor, I have to admit, this is probably the fastest meeting I've been to with you guys in quite a while, so I don't want to get in the way of your momentum here. I'll be brief.
That's a good thing.
Oh, I-
So Jay summed it up nicely. You were awarded funding in 2021 and subsequently hired our group to help with design and construction management. And that project is rehabilitative in nature. It addresses some of the process deficiencies, some of the non-compliant issues that you've been struggling with for the better part of a decade. And if you recall, a major part of that budget are the electrical upgrades, the total electrical upgrades based on a 2013 study. So our team is almost done, frankly, with the scope of work from that original project. As Jay mentioned, based on a fall 22 application, you were awarded an additional $14 million, $14,650 in 20-year, very near zero interest loan. These are not ARPA dollars, so they are not tied to the December 2026 ARPA deadline. Working with your team over the last 6 to 9 months, we've identified two primary processes that are worthy of these funds, and recognizing that these are loan funds, right? These are not grant or appropriated dollars as you have in your coffers elsewhere. But converting the method of disinfection to something that's safer and more comfortable for your operators, and then a total revamp of how you process and manage your sludge waste product. Those two combined, based on our budgets, are almost $12 million, $11,685,000. And what we're proposing to do is you would allocate these funds to the additional scope items, and then you would hold the rest of the money that you could, if you so choose, to use for a budget shortfall when construction begins. A few more details of what's motivating this. Right now, your disinfectant is gas chlorine. As I'm sure you're aware, very dangerous chemical, difficult to ship, difficult to deliver, difficult to handle. It comes with some administrative and safety protocols that are costly, but also just challenging for your operations team. So totally moving away from that to something that's more safe and easier to manage. And then a dewatering facility. This has been something we've talked to your team with for probably 8 years. What are you doing now? Your current method and current processes are antiquated. They rely on tankage and pumps and piping that have been in operation and in the ground since your original 1930s plant was built. It not only is it inefficient and ineffective, it just doesn't provide a good product. So from your long-term operational costs are higher than they should be, simply because you're not processing sludge the way you should, and it does give you compliance challenges also. So the proposal would be to use the most of this extra funding to fix this. And then, as Jay mentioned, just for consideration tonight, an amendment to our contract to capture the design, and recognizing that we've talked about this, I think twice last fall, and receiving the loan funding is good, and you did authorize an application, but this is the first noticeable financial commitment that would come with these funds. So with that, Mayor, I'll pause and answer any questions you have.
Council have any questions?
Refresh my memory on the new sludge process. Was that, dewatering it, get it in a form that could go to the landfill?
That's correct.
Okay.
Whether or not it goes to the landfill is not something that we have investigated yet, but it
Right.
certainly would be into a form. We call it cake. It's
Right.
basically wet-looking dirt that comes out, and it would pass a paint filter test, which could be hauled on DOT roads and could be taken to the landfill.
So environmentally, it's fine. Would have to be on the line.
Yeah, so
Landfill.
I'm outside my expertise relative to actual landfill operations, but I do know that from an environmental standpoint, of course, it has to be tested regularly if it is taken to a landfill. But the intent is that the waste product would be prepared so it could go to the landfill. Correct. We do find often that, of course, the city owns its own landfill, so that can change the dynamic here. But we often find that land applying dry cake can be more cost effective Depends on the distance to the landfill and the tipping fee and all that.
So we could land apply that?
You could, yes.
I had a little trouble following this. Are we gonna spend any more money? Are you
Yes, sir.
asking for extra money for this, or what?
Yes, sir. This is allocating funding that was awarded to the city in spring of 2013, or excuse me, 2023. So this, to date, you haven't committed to spending any of those dollars, and this is the first step in allocating those funds.
This is an increase in what we're getting through the state. Further questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion by
amendment number
Councilmember
two.
Dry to approve engineering amendment number 2.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Whitney. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Before I let you sit down,
Yes, sir.
talk to me about the other 2 projects, the raw water line and the other water line we're looking at, maybe either Snugs or Salisbury, wherever you decide to go. What kind of time frame we looking at now?
So Jay may be the better one to answer that. We've chatted with your team some about scope and process. You were awarded the 17 million. The 17 million from state budget 2023 is not ARPA dollars, and so there's no real urgency to that. I do believe the paperwork's being processed to allocate those funds. Maybe Jay might be the better one to give you more detail on it. Sorry.
When will the scope be come out for us to be able to go out for design build? So what we're gonna do with this, correct?
Yes, sir. So council did pass those resolutions to allocate those projects as design build projects. We're currently not under contract with an engineering firm to design those projects.
We are or not?
We are not. We are not. So that goes through that qualification-based selection process. We currently have documents being put together to go out for that qualification-based selection process to award a design build firm to complete those projects. But one component of that is the request for funding form for the state, so that 17.1 million in state budget appropriation, that is going to be allocated to the projected budgeted costs for the 52 transmission line and the Old Whitney raw water line.
Is this the first time that will this particular project that you've just discussed, will that be the first time we've used that new procedure?
Design build?
Uh-huh.
To my knowledge, yes.
I mean,
I don't think the
since
city has
we've
done it.
approved it. I mean, since we've talked about it, design.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
What's
I
your
don't
time-
know.
Go ahead, go ahead.
I don't know how the environmentalists look at it. When you're using chlorine gas, once it gets in your wastewater, the excess and so forth is going to be given off as a gas. It'll leave the water. Sodium perchlorate, not so. The sodium and the chlorine is going to be left in the water. Is there any implication whatsoever to the environmentalists?
The difference, the minutia of the chemistry is, as you said, from a practical standpoint, you feed gas chlorine now to disinfect, and then you feed a separate chemical, I believe, sodium bisulfite, to take out the chlorine before you discharge. You have a chlorine limit, and you have a chronic toxicity test you have to pass for your effluent. So you feed the chlorine to zap the viruses and the other components, and then you feed a chemical to take out, to remove to dechlorinate, basically. And you'll do that with both, whether you're feeding gas chlorine or whether you're feeding hypochlorite.
Okay.
You'll still do that.
Either way, it's going to be below the city.
Jay, back to what you were talking about, the RFQs. When will they be going out?
So I'm expecting to have those RFQs solicited within the next month and a half. That is my current expectation.
Council have any further questions?
Let's get her done.
Because we've already voted, yeah.
Thank you.
Y'all, you stay safe, you and your group, the next 3 days, Jay.
Thank you.
Moving on to city manager update, Mr. Clark.
Thank you, Mayor. This is just to augment the departmental head reports that you've received. Just some things to mention to you tonight. We are going to complete the purchase of 116 and 118 South 4th Street on Friday of this week. We go to closing. That's actually one parcel. It's just separately addressed as two different units. So that will be completed at the end of this week. We are also working with an architect on the public housing project. Darren will be meeting with architect later this week to start drafting plans that will be released for bid, that we would get back within our expectations within 60 to 90 days. So that is moving forward as well.
And what is that exactly at public housing?
This is for the replacement of the contractor that we currently have.
I got it. So that's not been out, I mean,
It has not been released yet. No, ma'am. Pardon me. Also, we had talked at our last meeting about holding a special meeting on March the 4th. It would just be a continuation of your March the 3rd regular meeting. And at that meeting, we tentatively currently have on the agenda a review and status report from McGill and Associates on our Parks and Recreation Master Plan, and they're going to be seeking some input from you. It's not finalized yet, but this gives you some opportunity to provide McGill some input into the plan. Also at that meeting, we feel fairly certain we're going to be able to bring a report to you on the study that Raftellus is completing. This is an assessment of our municipal solid waste and recycling program to see if we don't want to bring that back in-house. I don't expect the report to be finalized, but we do believe we'll be able to give you an update on March the 4th as to the current status of that assessment. March 18th, this is also the day after your regular meeting on March 17th. We will have a special meeting at the Waddell Center to also finalize our strategic plan for the coming year and also present the results of our staffing study that Central Atlanta Council of Governments has been working on. So that is on March the 18th. March the 20th, we do have tours of the Catawba Nuclear Station scheduled. We have two council members who are scheduled to go on that. Council members Bramlett and Dry. So we've got you down to go on that tour on March the 20th. Next, I have just a quick note that we are working with Creech and Associates to solicit bids for construction improvements at City Hall to improve the safety of different workspaces. Once the drawings are completed and finalized, then we'll go out for bids, but they are currently working on those architectural drawings now. Lisa may have mentioned this in her report, but the lights from Montgomery Park, the installation of those should commence on April 22nd. And then also Rock Creek Park lights are scheduled for July and August, sometime in that time frame. Just a public reminder, this slips up on everybody pretty quickly. We don't think about it, but leaf collection needs to be finished. Our last day to run schedule is March the 7th. So those are just a few updates. Mayor and council will be happy to answer any questions you might
Does
have.
that start the last round on March the 7th?
27th.
Yeah.
I left a 2 out, didn't I? Okay. I thought when I looked at that, I thought I thought we were running to the end
I
of the month.
encourage
Okay.
you to look at your schedule to know what day they'll be in your neighborhood.
I think the good thing there is that if we think about last year this time, all the folks who were fussing about missing one or two runs through, we've had a wonderful leap year this year. So, attaboy, Ross, to you and to all the folks that are doing that. We did good by doing that because I've heard nothing but good things about leaf collection this year. So, good.
A couple quick updates. I have Bramlett, Hall, Townsend, Mr. Clark, and myself scheduled for the chamber meeting. That has been rescheduled. Will not be Thursday night. It will now be March the 6th. So put that on your schedule that the meeting for Thursday night
When did that happen?
has been moved to March the
Today?
6th. And next Tuesday night, we have the COG meeting. I have Darren, Todd, Ms. Hall, and myself. Anyone else?
Yeah,
Mr. Dry, Mr. Bramlett,
to Baden.
Yeah, put me down.
and you getting these adding three more to that? Okay. All right, we got Aldridge, Bramlett, Townsend, and Dry. Add to the list you got.
The next day, we have state and
And
town
then,
dinner.
then the next day is when we go to town and state dinner. Remind me who is going to that?
I've got it down.
Okay, I believe it was I think it was Bramlett and myself.
Rosebriar.
Was anybody else?
I'll already be there.
Yeah, you will already be there. Mr. Clark is gonna meet us there. So
Just have
I
to
guess
wait
it'll
and
be
see.
just me and you
Okay.
driving from here
From, to where?
to Raleigh.
On the 7th of March?
No. The 26th of February, town and state dinner.
Yeah. I got it.
Get red beans and rice.
You got me down.
There are no more tickets. It's sold out unless they have some cancellations. If anybody wants to go, let Christine know. Anything else come before council?
Your Honor, I just wanted to take a moment, and I mentioned to the city manager before this meeting, and Adam Kiker had mentioned as well. I just want to commend you, Mr. Clark, for these meetings. I know Assistant Manager Rhodes, Assistant City Manager Rhodes, and the clerk herself. I know it's a team effort, and I know that the department heads are feeding you guys information and updates all the time, but just the way that you set these agendas up, it's really been good as far as the times are concerned. I don't feel like we as a council have missed anything. The meetings have progressed very nicely, and I think it speaks volumes to the professionalism of the department. When we think about a city council meeting, it's not just us. There's department heads that are out here that have to be at work first thing in the morning. So I don't think we've taken any shortcuts, but I think that, I think the meetings are moving, like they should. And again, I don't think we've missed anything. So good job.
I do have some.
Staff.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Over the weekend, it must have been on Friday night, and I sent this out to everybody, and Mayor, you said you might give us an update on DOT.
We will do that. Mr. Clark's gonna do that.
Okay, so can we do that? Is it-
Later.
Okay. Just a reminder of the homeless reduction task force meeting is going to be here tomorrow. Thanks, Christine, for getting IT to do. Yeah, Corey is going to do some of that. Big thing from tomorrow is that the PIT, the numbers where they go out once a year to figure out how many homeless we have. That they'll have that tomorrow. That's something we're going to talk about. We do have two groups of folks that are coming to talk to the task force tomorrow. One is a group that reached out to me, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago with an affordable phone service that they want to give or allow for folks to have. And there is a group of folks not too far from here in another community that are going to be building some tiny houses. And they are coming here tomorrow to see and to talk to our task force and basically say, if we build these tiny houses, are there people out there? And of course there's people out there. So not building them here, building them in another town, but the man from that other town is going to come tomorrow. And the task, so it's meeting here. I sent out to everyone sometime last week an invitation to an event at our Air Guard facility. So if you got that, everybody should have gotten that. If you want to go, you need to RSVP. We are sitting on a gold mine at our Air Guard, and if you've never been out there, then I would just say that it's a wonderful opportunity to be invited to go out there. Front page of the paper last Tuesday, and Dexter, you can help me here. We have had a young lady who has set, it's the all-time county record, is that it?
Correct.
In basketball. Tell me, how old is she? She is she a senior?
So
She's a senior. She's 17 or 18 years old. So we've got somebody, and that was in the front page of the paper. And I think, Toby, you didn't do that one, but Charles did. But we just need to say congratulations, because that's
Absolutely.
big time. You know, nothing good ever happens, we hear, but in fact, things do good happen. We had this weekend one of our electric outages, and I want to say thank you, because it was not necessarily all within the city, but it was all the way to the lake. And, you know, people go straight to Facebook when power goes out and they start wanting to fuss. And then within 5 minutes of the time I saw somebody fussing, I saw where the city had posted it. So just good. And Todd, did you tell me that we did a reverse 911 on that?
Jay did, yes, ma'am.
Well, the city
Yes,
did.
what city did.
The city did. And I have had some folks that were concerned about what we're doing with the placards, with the waste management, with the, I guess folks are getting notices if cans are left at the road. But I know we're doing that. We're not picking on people. That's something we're doing proactively. Is that right?
That's correct.
Can you help us understand that? Because people on council may or may not know what we're doing there or what's being done there.
Right, so we have an ordinance that requires that the can be placed at the street curb the day before collection and then collected that evening, the day of the collection. I believe 7 p.m. is when it has to be collected. Of course, we don't have staff who are working evenings, and the police department's not going to go enforce that. So I have seen where some folks have said, I work a second shift. It's hard for me to get home, to get my can back to the curb. So that should not be a huge concern for our citizens, although that is written into our code of ordinances. And so we have gone for a period of time without enforcing that. It does create a problem for people who do park on the street, and we do need to be enforcing it. Otherwise, if we're not going to enforce it, there's no purpose in having the ordinance. We should just repeal it. So the door hangers have been left as a courtesy to say, hey, you are in violation of the code. Please return your can to the residents at the end of the day. So we did try to get in front of that a little bit. We understand people are frustrated by that, and we're certainly exercising common sense and letting people retrieve the can, and we're not issuing fines at this point.
Thank you. I just know I've had a lot of calls, and
I'm a little confused with this, that, you know, one day we're not, and the next day I'm getting text messages about it and showing this, that, and the other. Did I miss something that we put it out there a month ago, month and a half ago, or a day before that says, this is what we're going to do? Because it sounds like a lot of people are just not in sync with what's going on and got blindsided. That's the impression I got.
I will say, when the city started taking over some of our solid waste collection from the curb back in July the 1st, we finally got put in place some staff that were available to go out and do some code enforcement. And let it be known, these tags, we have hung them at least for the 11 years that I've been here with the city.
Well, mine
So,
doesn't get put out until that night. It doesn't go back in until the next day. So I'm in violation every time and every week
And
with regard to that. And I have never seen anything on my waste cans.
so in the past history was, we didn't have the staff to go out and do code enforcement just on trash carts unless it was a complaint from a neighbor or there was obvious violations that were repeated over and over and over. We have always hung these old tags. We've hung these type of tags for years since I've been with the city. Once we took over the majority of trash collection, I say majority, we started taking over solid waste limbs, those type things. We have
understand.
eyes on the streets now. We see it
We
daily.
were part of that.
And so what we have started doing gradually, we've started implementing these policies and procedures. And what I would gather, 90% of the people that you see commenting on Facebook have not seen a violation yet. They're just commenting on what they're reading. We have been hanging tags since July the 1st. But because we've had a few of you all get some complaints, we're hearing it. So we did a public outreach through social media to let them know that these are violations, they're warnings. We haven't fined anybody. We haven't collected carts. You actually get 3 chances before your cart's ever going to get collected. You would have to leave your cart out at the curb for 2 months, basically, before your cart would be collected. I don't think there's anybody in this city that's going to leave their cart out for 2 months if you get 3 different violations before a letter goes out that would be certified stating that if you don't have it out in 10 days or picked up in 10 days, we're going to come get it. Again, this is what I find a little humorous, in my opinion, is people are complaining about how dirty Albemarle looks, how trashy Albemarle looks, and one of the issues is people that leave their carts out on our right-of-ways all the time is just as bad visual sore
Again,
as that. So it's an ordinance that has been put in place for a long time, and we're just trying to enforce the ordinance.
I understand, but what I'm getting from folks is that it was more of a surprise, whether, I don't know if they're new to the area or what. Did it go through our public information?
Yes,
Good.
and again, that's part of the process that we've tried to do.
Okay.
These aren't
All right,
take it off the curb, we're going to come get it tomorrow notices.
I understand
Um,
that.
For,
but it's-
for the record, again, the way the ordinance is written, carts can go out to the curb 6 PM the night before, and they have to be brought back off the street right away by 7 PM the day of collection. What our staff is doing now, typically it's 2 days after collection. 2 days after collection, we're going out, and if your trash is collected on a Wednesday, we're not going out until on Wednesday. If your trash is collected on a Monday, we will go out on Wednesday and ride through Monday's route. And if there's still cans out sitting at the curb, they will tag those cans on Wednesday. So, and yes, there's been some confusion. There was a couple months ago where Waste Management had missed some streets on a Monday's route. The guys went out, tagged those cans on a Wednesday, but their trash hadn't been collected. We clarified some issues, and then we're not going to be 100% perfect because we can't control what our contractors' services are doing. And unless we're told that trash hadn't been collected or it was missed, our guys just ride through and they may tag a cart. We've addressed that, but it's, it's a practice that we're trying, and we're trying to educate the public, and we're doing our due diligence.
That's where we've got to make sure we're on point.
And that was our attempt for a social media post, and obviously for every action, there's a reaction.
Well, and not everybody looks at that.
Yeah.
And, something in the paper, I mean, the more information we can put out, the less negative feedback we're going to get.
There
And
is
I
a
think
number to
we-
call on these notices, and Gracie does a great job when they call the
I'm
Public
sure
Works
our
Department.
staff does,
Yeah.
I'm sure. But again, what I'm getting is that, all of a sudden it's a surprise. Right, wrong, or indifferent, this is what's going to happen. So now you're aware of it, so hopefully we can move forward without the backlash of people putting their garbage can on social media and a long oration about how bad the city is and what we're doing. I think we work hard enough as it is to try to stay afloat up here sometimes. So I appreciate what you're doing.
And we appreciate
But-
council's
but
support too
we've
when you
got-
get those phone
we,
calls.
Always make sure if we're going to communicate something like this, let's over communicate it.
I
One-
think where we dropped the ball a little bit on this, we should have gone through our communications director and let him do a release.
Yep.
That this was coming. So it's been done. We're trying to address it now. We'll just have to deal with it best we can. And this is a learning experience for the future. If we're gonna do something like this in the future, let's let the communication director get it out in advance.
I totally agree, and that's what,
In all
That's what we're
fairness, in
here
July, we did a publication, we did a social media outreach. We didn't put anything in the newspaper, but we do have it in flyers. In July, I met with David. We did WSPC radio. It's on social media now, and I specifically stated in that release that we would be out and doing more code enforcement, that's what our staff would be doing. So again, you're not ever going to reach everybody with
understand.
this. So.
as long as we're moving forward in the right direction and keeping the communication lines open.
And
Thank you.
if I may add to this, unless they've changed their policy, Waste Management has a deal where if somebody is if they're elderly, if they have a physical ailment, they cannot move their, trash container to the street and back. The driver will actually move it back and forth for them. So
They
if
do
they've
offer backdoor service.
I'm sorry.
They do offer backdoor service.
Yeah, so
Now,
that
that
may
is
be-
between the resident and Waste Management. The resident has to provide doctor's note and show the
Correct.
reasoning for that. You
Correct.
just can't.
But some of the
request.
heartburn that I've gotten is physically, from a physical capacity, they cannot physically get the car out there. So I want to make sure that we talk about it, because I think that is
We've had
Important
several
element.
phone calls at the office about that, and some of those people were not aware that they had to call Waste Management to set up that type service.
Yeah.
So it's,
I appreciate what you do always.
thank you.
Two other last things. I know that planning and zoning is finished with their community inputs and those kinds of things. Did I miss something, or when might we have a date for that? And are we gonna do something with the zoning board? Our next,
Mr. Robinson reported to us a meeting or two ago, it would be toward the latter part of the year before he would have a
is that
report
right?
back to us.
So, and latter part of the, okay, latter part of the year, like as in calendar year or in fiscal year? Because y'all finished with your round of meetings, did
Yeah.
you not?
That's correct. So we are going back to the steering committee now. They're working on the vision. They'll be working on the goals. We're working on the map. We're also discussing with stakeholders right now and working on the 3 studies that we have to incorporate all that. It will probably be September or October. There will be an open house. We will present the plan, kind of rough draft of the plan, and it'll be open for the public to come and see and come to talk about. Our goal is by the end of the year to have an adopted, a draft that you guys can adopt.
I just know that we've had a lot of stuff in front of us, and folks keep asking, well, what about the study? What about the study? So, and maybe that's just, I don't know. I commend you on all the outreach you did about trying to get people to come.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know what the attendance was, but people had their opportunity to
It was
come. if
it
they
was
wanted
pretty
to.
pretty decent. We had a couple of the meetings that were a little bit less than we wanted, but overall, I mean, we're doing community meetings, which are much smaller than the city in terms of scope, and we've
Mhm.
still got 20, 25 people showing up to those. In some cases, almost 30 people.
That's right.
We've got the mapping exercise we had here. I think we had around about 45 people total that showed up for those 2
For AM and PM.
for AM and PM. So I think
Good.
it's pretty well. We'd always like to have more, but I think it was pretty well received.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
That's all.
I have one thing.
Mr. Chairman?
Ms. Hall had mentioned about Ms. Amari Baldwin. When and if council do recognize Ms. Baldwin, I would hope that we also consider as a young man, Vincent Gregory, who just made it to the 175-pound weight class state championship in wrestling. So he'll be going to represent Albemarle High School in the state championship. So that's a major accomplishment. I think he also got a lot of academic accolades as well.
That's good.
That's good.
I'll entertain a motion that we go into closed session pursuant to General Statute 143, 31811, A6 for personnel only.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Aldridge, second by Councilmember Dry. Further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Mr. Clark, you'll be the only one we need.
Okay.